Mom, can you please come and clean me up, 'cause I just did a poo? I am a performer, and my work is humanitarian. I make sure I expose myself on stage so that others feel better about themselves, knowing they're not in my shoes. Okay, so what you just saw was me being 2.5, and what you just saw was me being 39 years old. I still am. Next year, 40, big party. So basically what I did, I tuned into a version of myself that I brought back through my memory of what I remember of that toilet. And of course, that kind of voice came, and that kind of song came that me and my sister used to sing until my mom came to wipe us. So I call this a performance, and actually it's a glimpse of a performance, and it is about performance I wanted to talk about tonight. So the difference is, I don't want to talk about stage performing, but I want to talk about live performances, and how I support that all of us, all the time, are performers, and whatever we perform is right. Okay, so if we look at the term to perform, it has many definitions. But tonight I want to stay with its literal meaning, to perform, to make the formless, which maybe comes from an inner world, which could be, for example, a wish, a dream, a fear, an ambition, an emotion, a desire, a thought, a worry, or anything else, to make that visible through form. So form, I would call anything that we can see or sense. For example, the body, or a letter, or anything that comes out and we can actually have access to it in form. So basically, it's like our performances come in how our internal world informs the external. Now, whatever we perform is right, because if we say that the form comes from what we are being, then there cannot be anything wrong with being. Because being is a part of nature, and we are alive beings, and nobody can say that there's something wrong with nature. So basically, whatever we perform is right through the fact that we are being what we are forming. Now, what I want to say now is that if you look at me, for example, I'm a human being and I'm alive, and I am experiencing the world through my senses. Now, those senses come to form my inner world, which is the home of my reality, and also the perception I'm forming about the world myself. Now then, I manifest myself back into the world by embodying whatever it is I want to reveal from my inner world to others. So basically, I am hoping that that which I reveal will be perceived by others and hopefully communicate whatever it was meant to. The good news are that we all have inner worlds, so we all have our own realities, and there are many realities as we are, and all realities are subjective. So in this sense, there's so many ways of being a human, and therefore, there are so many different kinds of performances. Now, when we think about the term to perform, sometimes we associate that with pretending to be something we're not. This association might come from our idea of dance or theater, or generally the performing arts, which is very much associated with the concept of transformation. Now, instead of thinking about it like stepping into a role that's outside of my identity, think about it more like tuning in to a version of myself. For example, when my son has spilled his food on the floor 3 times in a row, I tune into the patient version of myself and try to teach him how to hold the plate. Another example would be, when my son has spilled his food on the floor 3 times in a row, he tunes into the, oh no, I think she's angry, I need to behave right now, version of himself and listens to his mom giving him a lecture about a plate or something. So basically, what is it really that stops us from believing that whatever we perform is right? I singled out a couple of fears and doubts that come both from my performances in life, but also in professional life. One, sometimes we confuse the performer with a craftsman or a virtuoso. So the way we do things, we think should be excellent or skillful. And of course, this comes from a notion that some arts have, or our perception of what, or thoughts of what art is, or what is excellence in arts. Now, this is a myth, because in our live performances always, because we all have a body, and we all have a voice, and we can do whatever we want with it. So what I'm saying, whatever you perform is right, has nothing to do with technique, but it has to do with it is right to be forming whatever you're being, because all you're being is correct, because correct, in other words, mean being faithful to your own truth. Another doubt we might be having, which is really the same with stage performers, and also I had it a little bit before I came out, now it's like, it's better. It's will, this gigantic, monstrous, terrifying, horrible, horrible, horrible thought, will my performance be liked by others? Okay, which comes down to, I want others to like what I do. Or it comes down to, I want others to like me. Well, my answer to this is that the only audience member and spectator you need to be loved, accepted, and liked by is the one spectator that has been there watching whatever you are doing, all your performances, at least in this lifetime, and that is yourself. Now, the rest of the audience members that don't really like your show can go and find another show somewhere else that corresponds with their own inner world. And I can go and find another audience that has that kind of inner world that tells him something, perceives something, and I take something from them. So that's out of the way, hopefully. It's easy peasy, basically. And the third one, from the doubts would be, if we get stuck or obsessed with the tool of expression. Now, I come from the one art form that made the embodiment of one's world an art form, and this is dance. Now, in dance, the subject and the object are the same, and of course, I'm talking about the body. The body in dance is what a pen is to a writer, or what a brush is to a painter. It's the tool of expression. Now, the tool becomes problematic if the dancer thinks that the value of her work really depends on how fit the tool is, or on her abilities, all the abilities of this tool, and then she forgets, or he forgets, that the tool is the vessel that carries ideas or ideals into the world, rather than being a tool on its own. Now, if we translate that into, for example, our live performances, if you're using a whip, for example, in an SM&M kind of lovemaking, remember, it's not about the whip, it's about the pleasure of spanking and being spanked. Okay. Yeah. Well, I seem to know a lot about it, but also maybe this comes from the pretending of the, or not. Yeah. Okay. I want to give you this thought also. Performances are actions, and all actions have big or small impacts. Now, our ability to respond to the world comes with a responsibility to know what the impact of our performances are or is. So, if you track back impact, it really comes from our intentions. Our intentions will determine partly the impact. So to understand intention behind a performance, I want to use a fantastic example from a book called The Invisible Actor by Yoshi Oda. He says, if an actor stands on stage and points at the moon, what makes him a good actor? If the audience looks at him or if the audience looks at the moon? And of course, the second answer is the right one, because him, by being so present, involved in serving his art and his intention in this embodied identification, we all turned and looked at something that wasn't even there. So in our live performances, if we really believe what we're stating, then the rest will also believe and be involved. Just because also this empathy, this empathy kind of concept, which is a human sensing another. Now, I would like to point out that tracking back intentions, yes, it came, tracking back intentions, it really comes back to personal values and ethics. And so one can say that our performances are basically our personal values and ethics that turn into aesthetics, and that's what makes our performances, our daily performances. Now, lastly, I would like to say that if we all dared to find that courage and bravery to be free enough to embody and form whatever we are being, then maybe that's a starting point of a major shift that will place the world in the position of a performer, and then the world itself would start to reform itself in a way that it allowed whatever it performed to be right. Thank you.